Thank you. Are we going? Is it working? And can you check if somebody check if I'm upside down or something? Because I'm nervous about the. If anybody has access to Facebook or something to see. Yeah. Well, it's doing weird things. It has happened.
Usually we get comments from people.
I'm nervous.
No, you're right side up.
I'm right side up? Okay, good.
Yeah, without support.
That's a different talk. Mom. Do you have my hot beverage? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can't hear you though.
Can't hear me?
Wait. Oh. It's me.
Thank you. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Om Mangalam Gurudevaya Devye Matrikcha Mangalam Mangalam Bhakta Brindebhyo Sarva Lokaya Mangalam Om Stapakaya Chadharmasya Sarva Dharma Sarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Mangalam Om Sarashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Majamam Ashmaracharya Prayantam Vande Gurum Paramparam Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Reva Param Brahman Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Ganesha Sharada Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om Sri Krishna Jai Ma. So last week we covered all kinds of cool secret tantric topics and it didn't get recorded or projected. And I don't think I have it. I'm not going to give the same talk again. So what I'll do instead, we went through the core of it. I mean, we talked about a lot of broad, important topics on worship of the Divine Mother and Sri Ramakrishna. And as we go, the next section after tonight, we'll start on the actual mantras for Kali Puja and the Dhyan mantras like that. So I think some of those details about the worship of the Divine Mother, we'll try to, I think they're important to catch and record them. So we'll fold them in. But as to not lose, so last week we also we went through the Holy Mother mantras. And so I'll just go through those again in a simple way, not with all an hour and a half of commentary, but so that they're recorded and it's not missing as part of the series. Because it's been a 18-part series or something so far. I don't want to miss anything. And so we start a couple weeks. Last time we gave classes, last month, before Navaratri, we did as part of the. Most people don't know. We're going through this is a series of classes on the Kali Puja, traditional Kali Puja. Can I get the small book also? The small Kali Puja book. Okay. And originally, somebody wrote me online saying, "Oh, we're watching your pujas online, and it'd be nice if we knew what you were doing, so we could enjoy. Can you give a talk on Kali Puja?" I said, "Sure. We'll on Saturday we'll give a talk on Kali Puja." So, it's been many months now, but people seem to be enjoying the topic. So we're going to the Kali. So we have a small book, simple Kali Puja, that has a very just form some of these mantras, and then built around that there's a larger puja, which is not our very clean version. We're always joking the next fire ceremony is dip it in ghee, and it's already ghee stained and everything. But we're working on a new, cleaner version with Rishi's help in updating the mantras and correcting all the diacriticals of the larger, of the full Kali Puja. Hopefully it'll be available to those who are interested one of these days. So I'm describing kind of the larger principles, although the core of everything I'm describing in a simple way is also done in the smaller, simple puja. And so we've gone through all these purification, the preparation, preliminary worship, worship of the sun, worship of the seat, consecration of the body, consecration of the alphabet, protection from evil spirits. I mean, every possible thing. It's the simple. It's the pujas. We say, oh, it's a simple Kali. We do a very simple puja here, but it's actually not that simple. Everything is built in. The tantra is a complicated system or a multifaceted system. So finally, we're getting almost to actually worshiping Kali. And we joke, we've been giving talks on the Bhagavatam for 11 years or 9 years, and only last year we mentioned Krishna. Because we finally mentioned Krishna. So it's like because a lot of other topics before you get to Krishna Lila, right? So similarly, we've been talking now 14, 15, 16 sessions on Kali Puja, and we almost haven't mentioned Kali. So maybe today we'll get to the first mantra that mentions Kali, perhaps. If not next week, for sure. So it's a lot it culminates with the worship of the main deity you're worshiping. And so before we did that, we mentioned in our tradition we worship Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, or a more extension along with worship Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda. Actually, for many years, we had before the statue of Sri Ramakrishna came, and before we did the extension, when the temple was this big, on the lower part there was this picture of Kali, of Ma Baba Trini in the center, and then Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, 2 photographs. That's how we worshiped for many, many years, right? And then when we did the extension, there was we decided we had this other picture on the wall of Sri Ramakrishna. He was in the center, and then we added Swami Vivekananda, kind of we mentioned last week. This is what is it? We called it the Holy Trio. Holy Trio. That's right. In the Ramakrishna tradition, they have their own. Actually, I think it's fairly new. I started hearing Swami Gokulananda, of wonderful sadhu who used to run the Ramakrishna Mission Ashram in Delhi. He was extremely loving mother type character. I think he had a small book on the Holy Trio. That's the first time I saw it. Maybe it was already there before, but since then it's become that's what they call the Holy Trio, Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Vivekananda. Before it was a holy duo, Ramakrishna, Holy Mother. So as part of our puja, we worship Sri Ramakrishna, and the standard way we do the Dhyan mantra, meditating on the rupa, according to the sloka that describes Sri Ramakrishna, meditating in the heart. Then we do offer a 5-item worship of perfume, flower, leaves, fragrance, incense, light, and food. This is called 5 leaves and flowers are one offering. These are 5 items. Or you can do a 10-item worship, or 16-item worship, or a 32-item worship, or a 64-item worship. Okay, and then we do the pranam mantra, the mantras and salutation. That's how we've been done to all the different deities: Ganesha, Surya, Narayan, Shiva, Durga. We've gone through. We do the Dhyan mantra, the 5-item worship, and pranam mantra. So we've already recorded and gone through line by line the Ramakrishna mantra, puja. And so last week we did the Holy Mother, but I'll do it again since we didn't record it. Holding flower and kurma mudam. Dhyayat chitta sarojastam sukha sishnum kripa sukasinam kripamayim prasanam varadam devim dvi bhujam stirulochanam. We meditate dhyayat chitta. We meditate. Dhyayat means meditate, and chitta with our consciousness. So this idea of chitta. We've been talking about this amongst the devotees here. That when we say, we have a full house today, unusual. We in the Western, generally in Western language, we have the mind, right? So we have the body and we have the mind, right? But in the Indian conception psychology, the mind is not one thing. What we call mind is actually made of many things. A simple way is to say that it's. How are we doing out there? full. Mind, it's manas, chitta, buddhi, ahamkara. All these go together, which sometimes they're joined together, called the antakarana, the internal organ, right? And so we have like manas, chitta, buddhi, and ahamkara. In our normal world, that's just like our mind, right? But we can, if you analyze and pull it apart, it means something slightly different. So manas is the closest thing we get to the word. I mean, we get the word mind from it. It's a cognate word. And buddhi is intelligence. And so what's a buddhi? A buddhi is the buddhi. We say, oh, he's very intelligent, or it's the intellect. But it's something very specific. It's like that when things are presented in the mind, that which judges them, accepts them or rejects them. You know, that the accepting and rejecting faculty, that discriminating faculty, is called buddhi. And then ahamkara is the I sense, ego, the sense of personal existence, the sense of I-ness, of identity. And chitta, I think the common book, they say like mind stuff. Like we don't have like mind, how's your mind stuff today? You know, we don't, that's not a thing we'd say, you know. Memory, yeah, it's memory. But interesting, memory is kind of, it's nestled within these things. So chitta is it's the stuff that the mind is made out of. So like if you think of like it's not just memory, it's if you like think of a cow, something else. Today's a good day to think of cows. Let's think of a cow. You know, it's like considered auspicious to think of a cow. If you think of a cow and you visualize a cow, so you can see a cow. Where is the cow? The cow's, you're not actually seeing a real cow. What are you seeing? When you close your eyes or visualize a cow, or imagine a cow. Or when you actually see a cow, you're not actually seeing a cow. Right, you have some light, some external form, and light is projected on the retina, on the upside down, the back of your eyeballs, and your brain, your neurology turns it over and projects it. Where are you seeing it? It's reflected in the back of your eyes, but then it's really projected right side up in your brain somewhere. You know, it's like somewhere in your consciousness, right? What is it that takes the form? What takes the form? It's when your mind takes the form of the cow, whether you're imagining it or it's actually theoretically seeing it, right? It's the chitta taking that form, right? So your chitta takes the form of what you think, right?
Would you say it's condensed consciousness, or?
You could. That's yeah. We can, if you think of it that way. That's a good. Yeah. Swami Bhajanananda from the Chinmaya mission, where he gave that beautiful talk on the, was it? Meenakshi Panchakam, right? Meenakshi Panchakam, right? Right. And he years ago, he gave it. He after 10 years, he gave part 2 of a talk he gave 10 years ago. Like he never finished it, right? And I remember I brought it up and asked him, please continue talking, because that's something he said. I remember from 10 years ago. He says when you meditate on the Dhyan mantra, what are you doing? You're by holding the image in your mind. He describes it like a mental tattoo, right? You're tattooing the image on the consciousness. Your consciousness is taking that form. Whatever you think, the consciousness takes that form, right? Takes that shape, right? Visualize anything experience like that. So that's happening all the time. We're thinking all the time. We're visualizing. We're imagining, seeing, and perceiving, and experiencing all the time. Things, actual existing things, or imagined things, or non-existing things, all kinds of things we're experiencing, right? But they're not liberating, right? And so Dhyan mantras will say, like at the end of the Kali mantra, which I'll tell you, I'll give you I'm cheating, I'm jumping way ahead to the Kali Dhyan mantra. Evam sam chitayit kalim, one who contemplates this way, or one whose chitta takes that form, dharma kama artha siddhinam, attains righteousness, enjoyment, wealth, and spiritual perfection. Right. So like we think all kinds of stuff, and we don't attain righteousness, well, the 4 goals of life, or liberation, or residence in Vaikuntha. The mantras say one who meditates all the time like this attains the form of Shiva, or attains a place in heaven, or liberates from birth and death, or liberates their ancestors 10 generations, or something like that. We think, and all it does is just traps us in our mind, right? In a world, a false created world projected in the back of our cortex. You know these things.
Little lobe in the
The
cervical
lap. Also known as the chitta, in case you're wondering. In our language, you know. Now, this isn't, I mean, there's not a chance to go a talk on Sankhya psychology, which is because then we can pull these apart more. But the simple thing is that chitta is the faculty, is a part of the mind. But the thing is, it's related to our brain, but the mind is not exactly the brain, right? And the chitta is not exactly the mind. Also, it's something. It's related. It's considered an element, but a subtle element. So we have the 5 gross elements: earth, fire, water, air, and ether, that go to make up the physical experience of the world. And then we have 3 or 4 mental elements, or subtle elements. And the Gita actually says with earth, fire, water, ether, mind, intellect, and I sense, ego sense, right? And manas, combining manas and chitta in this particular term. It says these are 3 subtle elements, right? So they're elements, but in other words, the point is that they're not us. They're tools. They're sense. They're elements and tools. But so here is a dhyaya chitta sarojastam. One should meditate. When we say one should meditate upon Holy Mother or on Kali or Krishna, whatever the form being meditated on, it's nice to think of what that means. That means the mind takes on that form, right? Holds that form and shapes that form. The longer you can hold the form, your mind's taking that form. That's not a normal thought, right? When we're told in the devotional traditions, we're told again and again, that God's name is God. Right, or God's form is God, Satyananda Vigraha. You have this term, right? That I remember Abbot George, our disciple of Anandamoy Ma, and a Christian monk, interesting Christian priest who's a disciple of Anandamoy Ma. Hey, Christian / Hindu / Buddha / he can circle all which religion, you know. But I remember he has a small book, a booklet on glory of the holy name, and he says the problem is that we think a name or a form is a limitation. Normally, a name and form by definition is a limitation, right? And therefore, people would think, God's name or God's form is also, in a certain sense, limiting the absolute, and that's partially true. I mean, if you think about form means to limit something, to describe the limits of something, qualities of something, right? He says, but actually, God's name and God's form are God, right? Not. We say they're in their form. They say their name, but there's something more. They're actually not a name. They're actually not a form. If God's infinite, God's name and form is also not only God's names and forms infinite. That's another pluralistic perspective, right? But God's name and form, whatever name and form, is also infinite. So it's a thought about something that's infinite, right? So how do you think about something that's infinite? You can't. You cannot, with a finite mind, think of something infinite. It's impossible. Right, we can, like, if you think, like Swami Vivekananda, he says, infinite like the sky. Or Brahmanandam Paramasukadam, in the Guru Gita says, the Lord is Gagana Sadrisham, infinite like the sky. The sky is not infinite, right? It's just really big, right? It's a good symbol for the infinite, right? But it's not infinite. We haven't seen anything infinite. We think of something really big and imagine a little poetically, slightly fuzzier beyond that. That's our sense of the infinite, right? So we can't, and then there's another problem. Not only can a finite mind not hold the infinite, right? Impossible, logical impossibility, physical impossibility, psychological impossibility, right? But there's another problem, is that God, the divine, in the scriptures is described not as an object at all, right? It's not something we can perceive. Like I'm a perceiver, I'm the subject, and I see you, you're the object, or I see this as an object, right? But God is consciousness. Satchitananda, right? So he's God, it, she, it, we, they, them, all the pronouns that defy the divine, right? Is not a thing, right? It's the source of awareness, right? It's the eternal subject, not never an object. So how can we think of something that's not an object? It's the thinker. The one thinking is God. Right, so it's tricky. We can never comprehend with the finite mind the infinite, and the subject can never know itself. How do you make a object of the subject? That's a better. We've talked about this in our Bhagavatam classes. It's a fascinating trick. So these Dhyan mantras give a hint. Dhyaya chitta sarodasam. Actually, take the mind when we're thinking. This too, we meditate. Oh, my mind, meditate. Or I meditate in the mind, or I take my consciousness the shape of Kali or Krishna or Vishnu or Shiva, whatever the divine form. It's Swami Vivekananda says it's as if, but not actually, making an object of the subject. Right? How do we think of the subject? We can't, but we can we can objectify it. Have a way to think about it that allows us to think about something infinite. How can the final thing of the infinite? It can't, but it can as if. It can think of something that is the infinite, right? Although we're not thinking something infinite, but it is the infinite, right? That's the trick. It has both sides. So this is the trick. So all the details of the meditation, where the infinite is also appearing as if a finite form in a way that the mind can comprehend. But when we're thinking of these divine forms, of these divine names, one saint said it's actually the great humility of God that He appears he allows Himself, appears to be as if an object of contemplation. Right. So, like the Shivalingam, in our talk on the Shivalingam is a perfect symbol of something that's without form, because it's a form allows you to think of something, but the shape is geometrically appropriate to think of something which is infinite and without form. For Shiva, for instance, right, or the different iconographical details of the deities, the many arms. We'll go through some of these as we go through the Kali Dhyan mantra eventually. They're saying things about that which can't be spoken about, right? And so we're still thinking about we can think about the infinite and actually as if, or maybe actually hold the infinite in our consciousness, right? Many times we've mentioned this, but to me it's a very powerful. It helped me a lot when I read this. The story of Neem Karoli Baba and the glass of water. Remember the story? I've told it several times, where somebody was saying, Neem Karoli Baba said, just say Ram, 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 right? And he said, but Ram is a name, and a name is the form of Ram, and it's not, and God is infinite, and aren't we limiting God by saying Ram, right? And so he didn't. His nature is not to have a philosophical debate. That's not his thing. He probably just threw a fruit at him and changed the subject and asked about somebody's kid or something. That's his nature, and he kept a little session going with the devotees. But in the process, and he said, he told the boy, please bring me some water. So the guy got up, and some sadhu asked for water. He brought, here's my glass of, bring me some tea. It's better. Water. I'll demonstrate in a second. And so he brought him a glass of water, and then Neem Karoli goes, what is this? He says, water. No, I didn't ask for a glass. I asked for water, not a glass. And the boy was stuck with the glass, and then that was the teaching, right? That the glass, bringing the glass of water didn't limit water. It revealed water. It brought water. Allowed, otherwise how do you bring water? There's no other, you can't blame the glass. You glorify the glass. The glass is, without the glass, water could not be drunk, right? So these divine forms, the divine names, they bring the infinite to us, and they partake of, and the glass of water is both a glass and water. That's the amazing thing, right? It's both a form and and the infinite. It's both a name and the one beyond name, right? Or Sri Ramakrishna example of a window or a door on a wall, right? You're stuck inside, and you have the infinite expanse outside, and you have a window. So what's a window or a door? It's part of the wall, but it's also part of the outside. It's both wall and outside the wall. I don't know what the word is. I don't know what I lost my language outside the word. And that's it. It shares both. It's both simultaneously, right? And if you don't know it, you say, that if you're stuck in a room and you open your eyes and you look and you see, there's that's part of the topography of the wall, right? And if you see an open door, you think that was part of the wall. You wouldn't know. You may not know that you can walk through it and be outside. That it shares both qualities of inside and outside, right? So Sri Ramakrishna said the avatar is like that. God's name is like that. God's forms are like that. So dhyayat chitta. So that's our commentary on chitta. Dhyaya chitta sarojastam sukasishnum kripamiyam. So this is meditating on Holy Mother Sri Sharada Devi. The meditate on the compassionate form, the prasanambaradam devim dvibhujam stirlocham, the two-armed form. We mentioned last time that usually goddesses are seen with many arms, right? But here, this goddess has been appeared in a two-armed form. It's specified because she is Sharada. She's considered a form of Saraswati. We mentioned last week that she manifested in many forms. She showed herself as Bagalamukhi. We told that story of how she manifested as Bagalamukhi, all these fierce forms. Also, I'm remembering just now another interesting story where I think it was her cook. She had a Brahmin cook that helped that and was traveling with her. And one time in a group of people, they stopped at part of the voyage. They got out to make some food and like that, and to eat a little picnic on the way to Calcutta or something. And he privately, not that privately, in an open group like that, but she started talking to Holy Mother. And he says, they say you're Divine Mother herself. So they say all kinds of things. One of those types. She changed this up. They say these type of things, right? No. If it's true, you have to show yourself. No, I'm not. She'd always tried to hide it, and she didn't think like this and talk like that. But he forced the issue, and he had a vision of a Jagadatri, right? A four-armed form of the goddess, right? Golden, right? And then then the vision cleared. And then she said, if you're Jagadatri, right, who is Jaya and Vijaya? These are Ma's attendants. Right? Then she specifically mentioned, she says, oh, that's Yogin Ma and Gopal Ma. No, Yogin Ma and, who's the other? Golab Ma, Gopal Ma. These are her, Sri Ramakrishna's female disciples that were attendants of Holy Mother, right? And he says, and then she said, don't tell anybody what you saw. Right, and he didn't until after Holy Mother died. That's how we know the story. And there's another story where there was a brahmachari, attendant of Holy Mother, and she had very bad rheumatism and her feet, gnarled. Swami Chaitananda interviewed this Swami, right? So that he got this from directly his book. It's not in any book. Now it's in Swami Chaitananda's books, but it was not in any other book before. This is from his diary. Tell me something new about Holy Mother. You were with her. He asked her. And he was an old man. He said, I was massaging her feet, and she never wore shoes her entire life, right? And she was an old woman, and her feet were all gnarled, like this. And he was, oh, my feet hurt, please press them. And he had some medicated oil, and he was trying to press her feet like that. And he was seeing these dark, gnarled, calloused feet. And he was thinking to his mind, and look at her feet. Right, this poor old woman, and they calling her the goddess. Some people think she's the goddess, right? And then as Swami Chaitanya go, boom, something happened, right? And he looks up, and in her place is a golden form of the goddess, this Jagadatri also, or Jagadamba, 4 or 8 arm form, I forget, right? And he was so overwhelmed that he almost lost a little bit of consciousness, kind of passed out or something like that. When he came to, there's the old woman, Holy Mother, sitting there again. Right, and says, my feet hurt. Please put oil on here. So who knows who she is, right? Whoever she is, in this particular human incarnation means two-armed form, right? Two-armed form means also a human being, right? Recently, Josh gave us a beautiful picture, really beautiful, from a classical Bengali style of two-armed form of Kali. Kali always distinguished was 4 arms, right? It's a beautiful, I think it's on the desk. You can see it. It's on the desk in the other room. We haven't put it away yet, right? And I like it because we knew one tantric sadhak, Shankaracharya, and he had a beautiful image. He wanted a 2-armed form of Devi, and he went to India and he couldn't find a 2-armed marble form. And so eventually he found a form, like maybe it was originally a goddess Ganga, and he had the sculptor remove 2 arms, make it the way she wanted, right? And the reason, not that he worships Kali, he worships the 3 chakra, he's a traditional tantric, right? But he says, Ya Devi Sarvabhut, Ma appears in many forms, but my favorite form is the form of humans, right? He was like, these are all forms of the Divine Mother, and I want to worship. He called her Parup, the highest form. And Sri Ramakrishna said that God has revealed that God. Divine Mother has revealed to me that the highest manifestation of God is in humans. Right? There's something new. Towards the end of Sri Ramakrishna's life, he had this kind of next stage, So the two-arm form is also this idea that he's like disembodied as human, a very human nature. We meditate upon the compassionate two-arm form of the goddess, seated naturally, this pose, sitting naturally on the lotus of the heart, with peaceful countenance and steady eyes. Alulayita kesharadaha vakshastala vivamshitam shweta vastravatangam himala karabhushitam. Half of her ebony hairs hang down, ornamenting her body, which is covered with a white garment and adorned with golden jewelry. And this is, of course, the way she dressed in white, and her style was a white sari with a small red border. That's what she always wore. And also jewelry. It's interesting because if you look, Sri Ramakrishna said she liked jewelry because she has an aspect of Lakshmi, right? And when if you know her story, she was married in the old tradition. I think she was 5 years old when she was married. Thakur maybe in his early 20s. The ceremony was done, and then when she was 17, 18, then she went. Then she went and joined Sri Ramakrishna, right? It's like a betrothal, I guess you would say. And there's a historical reason for it, due to invasions and things like that. I won't go into politically hot topics. I won't bring it up. Different topic. But and Sri Ramakrishna's family was very poor, and it's tradition to give jewelry at the time. There's jewelry that's worn at the time of marriage, right? And so they borrowed the jewelry from a neighboring landlord. I think the Laha family, I believe, right? And I've been to their house in Kamapukur. And so she wore, and then at night when she was sleeping, they took the jewelry, they had to return the jewelry because it wasn't their jewelry, right? And so Sri Ramakrishna himself took off her jewelry while the little girl was sleeping, right? And so she woke up, she was not happy, crying, like she doesn't understand what's going on, And Sri Ramakrishna says, don't worry, when you grow up, I shall, Girish Babu will buy you jewelry, And so sure enough, eventually Sri Ramakrishna bought her these bracelets, and they're picture. You see, these bracelets are very interesting. Little detail, because it says her wearing jewelry. The jewelry is also important. These bracelets, it's common in Bengali culture, the women wear a conch bracelet often and a red bracelet. These are signs of, that's like the equivalent of wedding rings, right? But Holy Mother wore these golden bracelets, but the design, you've seen it kind of twisted. They're very interesting. So Sri Ramakrishna had a vision of Mother Sita, right? One of his open-eyed vision, right? He saw her come, I think, in Panchavati, and he saw her. He said, "Who is this?" She said she was so beautiful, but very sad. There's some which is a symbol of Sita. She had a lot of grief, separated like that. He says, "Who is this?" She was actually thinking, "Who is this beautiful woman?" Right? And just then a monkey jumps off a tree and bows to her. And he says, "Oh, this must be Sita." There's some visionary experience, right? And then she goes and merges into him, right? And the vision breaks, right? And it says that Sri Ramakrishna's smile came from her. He left her. She left him her smile, but she saw that she was wearing bracelets that he's never seen before. So when he made Holy Mother's bracelets, right, it was based upon the vision of Goddess Sita Devi. So it's interesting. So and now they're not that popular because they're an antiquated form of jewelry, right? But before that, they're people like to copy them, and there is for a short period of time they were on special display at the Bellarmine Museum. Usha, I didn't see them, but Usha said just like tiny little Holy Mother, very small, right? Little, real to see her actual bracelets. I think there's 2 sets. She had 2 sets of these bracelets, and then in this picture also there's a mala, japa mala, that she also wore, right? That mala was given to her at the time when she was worshipped as Sodashi, when Sri Ramakrishna worshipped Holy Mother, and gave on Falaharani Kali Puja, gave the fruits of all his sadhana to the japa mala, and that mala. Where is it now? It's in 2 places. It was cut in half by her herself before she died. Half of it, I believe, it may be at M's house or at Bellarmine. It may have been moved to Bellarmine. I think it's at M's house. And the other half was given to Durga Ma, one of her disciples, the the successor of Gauri Ma. And Durga Ma, she was initiated by Holy Mother when she was 5 years old, and she was given sannyas at 11, right? And then she took her aside and gave her this is the mala Thakur gave me from his own sadhana, right? But don't let, and he said, you have to take care of this, and this will be for the ashram, for your ashram, and puja should be done every day. He gave instructions how the mala had to be worshipped, right? And I tell the story. It's a beautiful remembering. Now he's expired, an elderly man named Bengali. We knew him as Bengali Dada, Bengali grandfather, right? And Bengali Dada in Allahabad was her disciple. And at the time, he was in Allahabad. He was working in Allahabad when he was 20 years old or something like that. And in the Bengali area, and he heard there was some big house, and there was some people gathered, and he saw some people in some ladies in Gera, in orange cloth, and he heard Bengalis, and he's Bengali, so he was looking, and from the crowd, she saw him at the gate. Durga Ma was a big woman at that time, very heavy. She said, "Come, you over there," and he called him. She didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to behave. He was, and he says, "Are you a devotee of Ramakrishna?" He says, "Yes, my family's like." "And you are a goddess worshipper, right? Your family's a goddess worshipper." "Yes, we chant Chandi." He says, "Oh, your time has come. Come tomorrow for initiation." Right? And she didn't know who he was. They'd never met, He just pulled her out. And so he went. He didn't know to bring dakshina. He didn't know anything. He just, okay, He showed up, and actually she borrowed some money from somebody else, give it to him, have him give it to me. Holy Mother used to do that too. Here's 20 rupees, give it to me at the end of the initiation. So it wasn't a business. Her own money was being given. It was a ritual, right? But he said at the time after the 2 mantras were given, and then she opened a little box, and that mala pulled out. That Sri Ramakrishna worshipped and used for sadhana, gave to Holy Mother, and she wore her entire adult life, this mala. And he said that it was like there was no more, it's Rudraksha mala, but no more bumps, completely smooth. I don't know how much japa you have to do or what to do. I don't know how that works, right? And they're shiny, And he says that she put it on his head and did japa, right? And so every year I'd have him tell me the story about that, because then that was 50 years earlier, but you can see his eyes light up and glass up as he put his mind way back there again. But so a little bit, her jewelry also important. And as a detail to show that our Holy Mother is cool, she had a tattoo. Holy Mother had a tattoo because she's cool. There's some cool people here, like Holy Mother. She had this is the village thing, she had where the bindi would be, a small dot tattooed, where a third eye would be. Can't tell. On some photographs, you can maybe I can see it. You can't really see it. It was probably done when she was a young woman. It's there's tribal traditions and village traditions. This would have been done in the village. So she had a small tattoo. Casting off anger, right? Swakrod nyastam hastam cha. With her hand, she's throwing it away. She throws away anger, and she's smiling rather than angry, right? Casting off anger, because you usually think Kali is angry. Not angry, but she's a fierce goddess, that type of, you think, and Chinnamasta and Dhumavati and Bagalamukhi, and these are, even Jagadamba, they're fierce. Here she's not, although she's that goddess, right? Here, although she has infinite arms, she's 2 arms. Although she's the fierce god, transformative goddess, she's cast off anger, she's compassionate. Casting off Jnana Bhakti Pradayinim, casting off anger, she's the giver of Jnana and Bhakti. Devotion, knowledge and devotion. Shubram Jyotir Mayim. Shubram Jyotir, she shines with divinity. Luminous, shining with divine light. Radiant, made of light. Jiva Papa Shantapa Harini. And she destroys or takes the sins. Jiva Papa Shantapa. The agony caused by the sins of all means. Right? We suffer because of our own behavior. That she removes. The suffering caused by our own bad karma, by our own sins, that she removes. Savior of sins. Ramakrishna Gata Prana. She lives in Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna Gata Prana. she lives in Ramakrishna is one way, or her life soul is Ramakrishna. That's another way of saying her. Tannama Shravayam Priyam. Tannama Shravayam, and she loves and delights in hearing his name, Sri Ramakrishna's name. Tadbhava Ranjitam Karam Jaganmatrim Swarupinim. She is bathed in his, or saturated with his bhav, his nature, his mood, his sentiment of Ramakrishna, and Jaganmatri Swarupin, and she is the embodiment of Jaganmatra, the mother of the world. And then last week we mentioned there's an extra mantra that's been added as of late, and I still didn't look it up, whether or not it's by also. This whole hymn is written by Swami Bhajanananda, Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciple. So the rishi of the Dhyan mantra is somebody. We usually think of rishis or of a mantra. Some sage saw the deity and then composed a mantra describing, right? So this sage literally saw. He lived with her, disciple of Holy Mother Sri Ramakrishna. And then this other verse, I'm not sure if it's just been added, because I know it wasn't the original book, but I've seen it's been added in many of the books. Snehamayim Shivanshantam Bhukti Mukti Pradayinim Sarva Jiva Tranam Kartim Sharanam Gyan Dayinim. Full of tenderness, auspiciousness, and peace, the grantor of enjoyment and liberation, the protector of all beings, O Sharada, the giver of wisdom. Sharada means Lakshmi, Saraswati. So that's the Dhyan mantra. Meditate, we hold the flower, and we've talked about this in Kumar Mudra. Om Dhyācha Sarojastam Sukhasishram Kripāmayim Prastaram Bharadam. You meditate on that mantra. And then that flower is offered with the idea that the deity that's within the heart is also in the picture or the form or the statue in front of us. And then we worship with offering 5 items with the Mula mantra, Om Aim Hrim Sarva Devi Devi Swarupinyue Sri Sharada Deviye Namaha. Om Aim, we mentioned Aim is a Saraswati Bij mantra, also for Guru. And we worship Sri Ramakrishna and Guru with this mantra. And then Hrim is specifically for the goddess, called the Hrileka mantra or Maya Bija. So she's the Guru and goddess, you could say. Sarva Devi Devi, Swarupinya, the embodiment of all gods and goddesses, or whose nature is all gods and goddesses. It's the essence of all gods and goddesses, like that. Sri Sharada Deviye Namaha, 5 items, and then her Pranam mantra. Yatha Agnir Dhahika Shaktihi. You exist, Ramakrishna Sthita Hiya. Ramakrishna Sthita Hiya. You are established, you exist in Ramakrishna. How? Yata Agni, like fire. And it's burning. The power to burn is established in fire. So this is a classic Shakta. This is the classic Shakta example. Sri Ramakrishna used it. Like fire and its power to burn. So you can say, there's fire and there's a burning power of fire, right? There's 2 different things, but they're not 2 different things. We're just saying 2 different things about the one thing, right? Or Sri Ramakrishna gave an example as milk and its whiteness, or water and its wetness, right? Or what's the other one? Snake and its wiggling motion. It's like a slithering, like you can describe them differently, but you're the same. So actually, it's just like Shakti we have this idea of Shakti, power, or manifested power, and Shaktiman, the controller of power, the wielder, the powerful. But the powerful and power are not different. We think, one is, and the problem there's if you flush this out, it's a beautiful idea, but it's also a dangerous idea, because if you have power, Shakti, power, is also a feminine word, right? So the goddess and the feminine principle, Shakti. And Shaktiman is the controller, wielder power. That's a masculine term. So you can see that gendered language, well, it may be appropriate to think of the powerful and power, but you push that into culture, right? And power structures and families like that, that's problematic. You have, you have the masculine controlling the feminine, right? So in Shaktism, we have no problem using both these terms, power and the powerful. Right, but which one's supreme? They're not different things. It's fire and it's fire to burn, right? It's the same thing, it's lived out in political and social life with beauty or with horror, right? But the original principles, and you can't separate power and the powerful. Just like what's an example we sometimes give? Oh, Guruji's thing. That's right. I'm remembering Guruji's thing. Our Guruji said, "So if Jose, when I was young, if I give you, you're a poor student. Yes, Guruji, I'm a poor student. If I give you $1 million, right? He says, you'll be rich." He goes, yes, Guruji. He says, who made you rich? Right? He says, well, you did, Guruji. I mean, I was playing along with his point, right? You made Guruji. He says, me? Or the $1 million? Right? It's like, well, no, the $1 million made me rich. No, but who gave you the $1 million? You did. But did I give you? I mean, what makes you? The giver of the possessor, the giver, they're not separate, right? It's also one of the reasons how we worship Guru. The Guru is the one who gives God, right? But they're not separate. The giver of the gift and the gift itself, right? That's one way like that. But then in Shaktism, we actually the goddess, the divine, which is not two, is always one, right? She, if we use that language, is both the power. She's power, but she's also the powerful. They're not separate things. We can think of her as separate, but they're not separate. Just like we can think, she exists in Ramakrishna, like the fire, burning power and fire. Burning power and fire are not different. So in a way, it's saying that she exists in Ramakrishna, that she and Ramakrishna are not different, right? They can be thought of as different, but they're not different, right? One's the thing. You can't. Well, I keep repeating. One's fire, one's fire. I don't know how else to say it. And the same is principle when we say Gauri Shankara, right? Sita Rama, Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, right? It's in the same. We think of them as separate or different or dual, different aspect, but they're not two beings, right? They're two aspects of the same being. Or Ramakrishna said, two sides of the same coin. You can see this coin, that side, and say, oh, it's like that. You can see it like that. But take a slightly larger picture, you realize it's one coin, right? Yata Agni. So she exists in Ramakrishna, just like the burning power exists within fire. Sarva Vidya Surupam Tam. She and her the embodiment, or the essence of Sarva Vidya, all knowledge, all wisdom, all science, all the old word, not modern science, but all methods of knowledge and traditional knowledge, wisdom. Sharadam pranamami. Oh, Sharada Devi, pranamamyaham. We bow. And then we often add a verse. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ram Krishnam Jagat Gurum Para Padme Tayostritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim. O Sharada, the mother of the world, and Ramakrishna Jagat Ramakrishna, the Guru of the world. Having saluted you both, we bow to you again and again. So that's in a shorter form, not that short, 56-minute form. Holy Mother. And, so that's the Sri Ramakrishna Puja, Holy Mother Puja, and then here we also do, and very often they do Swami Vivekananda, and it can be done also just with a simple flower. Itagana Pushpe, Vivekanandaya Namaha, Om Ayim Sima Vivekanandaya Namaha, like that. Or sometimes all of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples will worship together as a group, right? With the mantra of Vivekanandari, Sri Ramakrishna Parasha Devatavya. All the followers of Ramakrishna, the family, followers, disciples, attendants of Ramakrishna, headed by or beginning with Swami Vivekananda. But we also worship, and actually, so we do a 5-item worship of Swami Vivekananda. And every time I do, I light the incense and I ring the bell. I'm very conscious. He gave a threat. Anybody who waves incense in front of my picture when I die, I'll come as a ghost behind them and break their neck. That's what he said. So I tell him, I said, Swamiji, I'm doing this out of tradition. So you sit there and don't leave me alone. I'm like, because he's like, what happens? It's like he's a living spirit. He has a message. He wanted people to rise the downtrodden, feed the poor, educate the ignorant. It's like he serve. He was that type of thing. What we do, the person who says that, The money that he wanted, the money, the energy, the effort, the attention he wanted for that work, we now put his picture on the shrine and spend all the money for his elaborate worship, right? We worship, we image, not the instruction, right? But the thing is, you have to also worship the image because it embodies the instruction, right? Remember, if the worship and veneration of Swami Vivekananda was not kept up, the ideals of Swami Vivekananda wouldn't also spread, right? So that's why he said, you sit there and you behave, just sit there. Sitting there, you can inspire people to do all the things you wanted, but you have to sit there and accept our worship, And it says Swami Sarvadivananda told the story. He's told it twice here upon my request, but I've never heard this before. I've never read it, but it's a beautiful, where do we start the worship of Swami Vivekananda on the shrine? Because during even after Holy Mother, during Holy Mother's life, and even after her death, Holy Mother was not worshipped. Her picture was kept, but generally was not worshipped on the shrine. It was only Sri Ramakrishna was worshipped at all the centers like that. Holy Mother herself, in two places, Kolpura and maybe one other place, I'm forgetting, she herself put her picture and Sri Ramakrishna side by side. Right, two places I think. I know Kolpura is one of them in the village near Jambati. So this is very significant. Maybe Varanasi. I think maybe Varanasi. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, actually, the story is about Varanasi also, so it's perfect. So that's very significant. So in Varanasi, there was both pictures are there. And then after her death, also, then slowly, people began to worship Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother side by side, right? But it was not common. And so in Vivekananda, people may have a picture of him like in the office, something like that. He's inspiring like that, but he was not worshipped in that way, right? And so when Swami Vivekananda left his body, right, Swami Shivananda, Mahapurush Maharaj, was in Benares. And he, very emotional, when he heard the news came, Swami Vivekananda gave his body, he got up and went to his room, got a picture of Swami Vivekananda, came back and cleared some space and put the picture next to Sri Ramakrishna's picture on the same level, right? And that would create a scandal, right? Because it's like he's not the same, and the Guru's always kept above, and we consider him God, and that it became this big, and then people became a scandal and a controversy. Some people know Mahapurush is a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He knows what he's doing. Other people know, but it's not our tradition. This is maybe it's blasphemy. Especially on a worship shrine, are very strict these type of principles, right? And so the head of the center wrote a letter. Holy Mother is still living, right? Wrote a letter to Holy Mother, right? We accept your opinion on it. This is what happened. Mahapurush has put Swamiji's picture on the shrine, and we don't know what to do about it. Kind of like fix it, right? He his position. He didn't want Vivekananda's picture on the shrine, right? And Holy Mother wrote back dictated a letter back, and when he read it, Swami Sarvadivananda tells it. He says the first thing he says what Mahapurush Maharaj has done is wrong. Good. Now we know. We have this, that Swami Vivekananda's picture shouldn't be on the shrine. Right? That was it. He says, if Sri Ramakrishna was living, he'd carry Swami Vivekananda's picture on his head. He'd keep it above it, how much devotion. It's like, that was the thing, so that was in Holy Mother's own standard. Not only would Thakur loved Swamiji so much, he'd put his picture above his, not below his. So from then on, it's allowed to put Swami Vivekananda, and slowly the three were put like that. But I think so also when I worshiping and he threatening to break my neck as a ghost, as Holy Mother said, you have to sit there. I think that's a better argument, is that Holy Mother said, because he won't disagree with Holy Mother. He may have done all kinds of threats in his life, but Holy Mother is in charge of this temple, so he has to behave and not break my neck. Okay, my buddy. So this is a beautiful, okay, how much time? I'll sip another cup of tea and speak faster. With caffeine, I can get this done. I can finish in time. Govindam. Vishvacharyam Jagadvandyam Vivekananda Rupinam. Vishvacharyam. We worship we meditate upon Vivekananda, who is Vishvacharyam, the teacher of the world. So another way of saying he's a teacher of the age. And I think we say Yugacharya, the teacher of the teacher of the age, right? And that is Swami Vivekananda, he was a strong personality, if you've ever read, right? And he boldly said, he one time he was mentioning, like in Sattva Yuga, who was the Acharya? I forget. Maybe Vyasa was the Acharya, Sattva Yuga. In Treta Yuga, it was Vishwamitra. In Dwapara Yuga, he was mentioned. I don't remember exactly. In Kali Yuga, I'm the Acharya. He wasn't trying to be egotistical. The point is that he's giving a way of thinking about all these things that's still modern, right? Not only the universal teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, but in the way that's going to survive the modern challenge: science, evolution, logic, Western reason, philosophy. Most religion can't survive it. How do you present religion, old religious ideas, ancient traditions, in a way that can survive the modern world, right? And we sometimes joke most things can't survive. I call a smart-ass 12-year-old. You know, just a teenager can defeat most of religion. You know, it's not that hard, right? Our most sophisticated arguments is like, you know, and I know such teenagers. That's why I have to bear like they make their argument against God, and I go in, well, I don't know what to say about that. It's a pretty good argument. You've convinced me. That's the problem. So Swamiji, if he can survive the 12-year-old, a snarky 12-year-old, he can survive the modern age, you know. And then, of course, Swami Chaitanya says that when Swami Vivekananda accepted the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, he said the entire Western world was converted, right? Because symbolically, not actually, obviously, because he was Western educated. He had signed an oath of the Brahma Samaj not to bow to any images, right? He didn't believe Swami Chaitanya has one writing he did. What's the thing that Sri Ramakrishna preached? A list of all the things that Swami Vivekananda preached in the West, right? The doctrine of Maya, the doctrine of Brahman, the doctrine of Avatar, the doctrine of Guru, the doctrine of Bhakti. Point for point, all these different things. You know, all these things that he taught, right? All these things he himself rejected when he met Sri Ramakrishna. Right, you know, right. So Ramakrishna convinced him of all these things. He taught him all these things. And these are the things that he came to, and he preached all these things. He didn't accept Avatar, right? He didn't accept he didn't accept gods and goddesses. He didn't. He was fully modern in so many ways, right? And so, but these are the very things he preached. So it's like, so he could present it in a way that could be universally useful. Vishwacharyam, the teacher of the world. Now we're not doing that. That line is not meant to be like he's the best teacher and you have to follow him or else. That's not it. But you know, he makes the ancient tradition. I think this is the way I interpret it. He allowed the ancient tradition to be applicable and acceptable in the modern world and engageable. And actually, we can see the seeds of. Like I recently, we've been working with interfaith school in New York, new seminary, and seeing like as I learned the modern themes in interfaith in the interfaith movement, right? The seeds of everything that they're developing, and they're developing in their own way without reference to Swami Vivekananda, right? What can I do, Swamiji? Our class is filling up. Parking, we're out of parking. Anyways, he has he's taught every single point he's already given that they're developing. Right? It's very quite amazing. I mean, I'm finding so many things that almost in every field, spiritual field, some of you can already set the seeds for those things. So I think he's important. Vishwacharan Jagat Vandyam Vivekananda Rupinam. The universal teacher, Jagat Vandyam, adored by the world, appreciated by everyone. Vivekananda Rupinam, the form of Vivekananda. Vireshwarat Samutpanam. Born of Vireshwara. Right? So this is, Vireshwara is a lord of, it's a name for Shiva as a lord of Virya. He's heroic. Right, he's the heroic lord. We get the word viral or virile from that, right? Virile from that. And Swami Vivekananda's mother wanted another child and couldn't conceive, and so she had a family member go to Benares and worship. There's a deity, a Shiva Lingam, Vireshwara Shiva, that people worship in order to have children. So she didn't go. I think, I believe if it's proper, if I remember properly, she sent a family member who's been out. You wrote, "You please do some puja for me," and so she was soon conceived right after, and so she believed that Swami Vivekananda was born as a boon of Lord Videshwara, and the Ramakrishna tradition we consider him like incarnation of Videshwara, a manifestation of Videshwara, right? And like Nagmahasai said, for us he's our Shiva, whoever he may be. For us he's Shiva. He's an aspect of Shiva. Videshwara samatpanam saptarishi mandalagatam, who is descended from the circle of the Saptarishis. So this is an interesting story. I could have read it if I would have planned a little bit. Sri Ramakrishna had a vision before he met Swami Vivekananda. He said, I saw in my vision a small boy. And we know vision is, he is the small boy, right? No, my mind, I get this right. My mind went higher and higher and higher to the highest realms, past the realm of the gods, past the realm of the rishis in the Deva world, right? Past Vaikuntha, past Satyaloka, past everything, right? To the realm of the absolute, formless, and past that. So we can think of that as beyond the realm of the formless absolute. There I saw, beyond, not in that realm, I saw 7 sages in meditation, right? We know these in the Indian tradition, we're the Saptarishis, right? The 7 ancient sages, right? And I saw a little boy, which we know is him in the story, right? Go to one of the sages, right? And lovingly, sit in his lap and luggily tug on his beard, try to get his attention. And the sage opened his eyes, was full compassion at the boy. And the boy, through symbols, said, "I'm going down, you follow me." Right? So this is the idea that he says. And then Sri Ramakrishna said, when I saw Naren for the first time, I recognized him as one of those sages. Right? So this is like our belief, the origin story of Swami Vivekananda, that he's one of the original 7 sages. That Sri Ramakrishna, I'm being born, you come down to help me. This is the kind of theme behind the story. That's what this mantra says. Saptarishi Mangalagatam, descended from this way. Jnana Bhakti Pradataram, who can confer knowledge and devotion. You are the one who can give jnana and bhakti. Padma Aksha Gaura Vigraham, whose lotus-like, Swami Vivekananda had very large eyes. His eyes are so big that when he slept, they didn't close. He couldn't, he slept with his eyes half open. They're bigger than his eyelids. He had huge eyes and very bulging eyes, very powerful eyes. So that's called lotus-like eyes, Gaura Vigraham, and golden complexion or light complexion. Right? Dhyayat Devam Jyoti Punyam. We meditate, Dhyayat Devam Jyoti, that radiant ball of light that Swamiji is, right? Meditate upon that divine cluster of light, right? Loka Kalyana Karinim. Who is that light that descended from the 7 rishis, right? With some golden form and lotus-like eyes. Why was he born? Loka Kalyana, in order to do good to the world. Born to do good to the world, we meditate upon him. So we meditate upon Swami Vivekananda. We offer 5-item worship with the mantra Om Aim Sima Vivekanandaya Namaha, right? And then his pranam mantra Paratatte Saralino Ramakrishna Samagnaya. We bow to Vireshwara, again seeing him as Vireshwara Shiva, who is always absorbed in the supreme truth. So, Ramakrishna Samagnaya, and who by the command Ramakrishna Samagnya, by the command of Ramakrishna, is engaged yo dharma stapayorato, who is engaged in establishing dharma, a larger principle. You can see which dharma he did. Who is the Great Swan? Who wrote the Great Swan? Lex Hixon, right? He gave a talk at the Yoga Center years ago, before he passed away. Obviously, before he passed away, and he said that he said we have now for 100 years we have the seated pose of Sri Ramakrishna, right? And Swami Vivekananda gave the broad principles of Vedanta, the truths of all religions, the universal principles of Hinduism, of the Vedas and the Upanishads, like that, right? He says this is the stage, right? The establishing the universal Dharma. On top of that stage, now he says the next, we don't have a picture here, the dancing form is Sri Ramakrishna, right? Now the devotional principles will come, the mother worshipper, the kirtan, the higher forms of devotion will come on that stage, you know. So he established the universal Dharma. On top of that, now we can talk specifics, right? And on all the varieties of Dharma that can be on that. That's one way of interpreting. Viresham tam namami ham. To that Vireshwara, we bow. We bow to Vireshwara, who is always absorbed in the supreme truth, who by the command of Sri Ramakrishna is engaged in establishing Dharma. So that's the Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda. And then we can also add to that, when we worship Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, there's also worship of their attendants, their limbs, their disciples. So there's, in the more elaborate pujas, you can keep going. You know, there's so many mantras you can go, and so many deities you can worship. And with Swamiji also, we mentioned the Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna Parashidavatabhya, we worship all the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And in larger pujas, we actually worship each one separately, at least. And there's a list. Of course, we have the traditional list of 16 sannyasi disciples. Sri Ramakrishna had more than 16 monastic disciples. So we always include 2 or 3 extras that aren't on the traditional list. For instance, he had Tulsi Maharaj, Swami Nirmalananda, who was his direct disciple, who preached in the south. We have Gauri Ma. Actually, Gauri Ma, not only the woman disciple, she was actually, we could argue, not only is she a monastic disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, I would argue she's the only monastic disciple, because she's the only one that he gave full traditional vows of sannyas. The others he gave symbolically at the time of his deathbed. He distributed some cloth, and later not even the same group. I mean, some of those became monks, some of them didn't become monks. It was symbolic he started the order, but then slowly amongst his close disciples, they created a monastic order, right? But who did he fully initiate? Give the orange cloth, give the name, the whole thing? He gave it to one, as far as we know, the traditional sannyas, he gave only Gaurima, as far as I know, right? He gave tantric, then he gave tantric sannyas, which is with hidden sannyas, this is for householders, right? He gave it to, I think, to Girish and to M, right? So that they count, right? And then and in Sri Ramakrishna's world, we give precedent to the sannyasis. These are the ones who've dedicated 10% of their life to preaching and teaching Sri Ramakrishna's message. And so they're heroic examples, like the saints in Catholic tradition. These are the heroes that are held. But the list of saints aren't the only saints. They're the ones that we hold up as examples, right? But actually, Sri Ramakrishna's disciples are not just 16 or 17 or 18 or 19, right? We have so many. Each one of them, their lives are spectacular and great examples, you know. And so M and Girish Ghosh and Nag Mahashaya and Kalipada Ghosh, and you can go through all these people. Each one such a fascinating story. Swami Chaitananda's book, They Lived with God, I think he mentions 26 or 27 of Thakur's disciples that aren't in the normal list, right? Each one spectacular, you know. So each one can be remembered and worshipped and prayed to and held up as an example. The beautiful thing about the so-called householder disciples of Sri Ramakrishna is that they had all the problems that we have, right? You know, the family problems, health problems, economic problems, and still how they lived completely God-centered lives, right? It's really spectacular, you know. For the monks to live if the monks don't live God-centered lives, you can attack them. That's a crime, right? But for others to live God-centered, that's a very. Sri Ramakrishna said that. Of course, sannyasis. If sannyasi oversleeps, you can criticize them, right? You know, they're held to a high, they're held to a high standard, right? You can. It's like Lord Chaitanya said, like a white cloth with a stain, a tiny little stain of turmeric on a white cloth. People see, oh, stain. They don't see all the white cloth, right? You know, that's how they're held. So you expect that. But for other people, how to live a God-centered life, all duties and all problems in the world, you know, they're thrilling. The lives of each disciple, and each disciple is a completely different spiritual practice. It's a completely different spiritual mood. There's not one thing, and it's good to remember Sri Ramakrishna didn't say one thing for everybody. Right, and even in the Gospel of Sri Rama, in the Ramakrishna Kathamrita, you read things like, well, I don't like that. well, your name's not in the gospel. It's like, we're seeing personal conversations between Sri Ramakrishna and disciples, right? He was speaking to them. Sometimes we read that and we realize, oh, that's meaningful to me. That's something that's my problem that I'm working through. And it's a living book. He can't speak to you through the book, But his teachings were one-on-one always. He didn't give a lecture in a normal. I'm giving a lecture, general principles. Right? That's not the way Sri Ramakrishna taught. Each person he trained differently, with a different mission, with a different bhava, different sadhana. Gopalamao, the devotee of Krishna. Each person had a different, and he never bothered anybody's bhava. Whatever their tradition was, he left it. He removed fanaticism and he intensified their devotion. This is the two things. Whatever the thing was, your view is right, but don't become fanatic about it. He never said you have the wrong view, right? He almost never said that to anybody, right? Even people they came drunk and alcoholics. He never told them stop drinking. So think of God more, slowly, slowly, they gave up their drinking, right? It's like he didn't we stop drinking, start worshiping Ma. We give our list of what people supposed to describe, because whatever they did, whatever their nature would, he encouraged and let them. The great example of move forward or go farther, right? Move further on their spiritual path, and he always condemned small-mindedness and limited thinking about the divine. Jai Thakur Ma Swamiji, and I think because of the crowd and Swami Vivekananda is getting nervous outside because we're out of parking. Yes, tell me. Don't hit yet quite yet.
Just on that same thing, how did he deal with Arya Samaj?
The Brahma Samaj, actually, even the Brahma Samaj, he whatever their mood was, he encouraged it. He said the Brahma.
Formless, yeah.
Yeah, no, he said, oh, these are the Brahma Gyanis in the modern world, right? They have their view, right? He poked at them a little bit, and he also, and he said, but also there's many. We were talking about this earlier, a very revolutionary thing, where we won't. It's too big of a topic to bring up right now, but in general, where he says that whether you can accept his view or not. Right, that's the thing. The main thing, you have longing for God. That he encouraged them. Maybe it's not their view was not Sri Ramakrishna's view. He would swoon in front of statues of Kali and Krishna. He'd dance, singing the avatars' names and like that. The modern Brahma Samaj didn't believe any of this stuff, right? But he'd still go there and he'd sing for them and talk to them, because they also thought of God and they also loved God. So that was his criteria. Do you love and want God? Right? So that's a very significant thing. He didn't always just preach. He didn't preach his philosophy. He preached their philosophy in the broader and vitalized world where it's real. And God's real and can be found. If you love him, you love her, she can be found. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma. Okay.